A week of reckonings and ruptures in Port Charles. The battle lines are drawn as summer descends upon Port Charles. The week of June 2nd through June 6, 2025, will leave no relationship untouched, no loyalty unquestioned, and no secret safe. Beneath the surface of every polite smile and half-hearted truce lies a growing tension that threatens to tear the town apart at its emotional seams. From high-stakes courtroom showdowns to quiet emotional reckonings, every corner of this small, tumultuous town is bracing for impact. At the center of the storm is a conflict years in the making, the breakdown of the Corinthos family. What began as whispers of betrayal and resentment has now erupted into an all-out war, with Michael Corinthos stepping into the spotlight. No longer as the obedient son, but as a determined father wielding legal firepower against the very man who shaped his life. Sonny Corinthos, once untouchable in both the courtroom and the underworld, is now confronting a battle he can't control with fists or threats. A custody battle that strikes at the very core of his family legacy. The early days of the week see Michael reconnecting with his half-sister Christina. But their reunion is not just nostalgic, it is strategic. Michael, having uncovered more than a few skeletons during his quiet months of investigation, is now armed with knowledge that can shift the legal tide in his favor. Christina's loyalties, long torn between her father and her own evolving sense of right and wrong, begin to waver as she sees the devastating impact of her family's infighting. As she listens to Michael's perspective, her silence becomes more telling than any testimony. By midweek, Michael takes the stand. His words are calm, his tone resolute, but the implications are damning. He paints a picture not just of a troubled childhood, but of a dangerous household, one where emotional volatility and unresolved trauma have created an unsafe environment for any child, much less three. The courtroom hangs on every word, while Willow, sitting mere feet away, feels the weight of her choices pressing in on her like never before. By Thursday, Willow reaches her breaking point. Torn between love and fear, between a life with Drew and a future where she can remain close to her children, she makes a heart-wrenching decision. There is no grand announcement, no confrontation. Instead, there is quiet resignation as she tells Drew it's over. The disappointment in his eyes is unbearable, but Willow has learned the hard way that love, without proximity to her children, is a luxury she can no longer afford. As Drew reels from Willow's abrupt retreat, his faith in justice begins to unravel. He had believed that character and intent would prevail in the courtroom, that his steady presence in Willow's life would be enough. But in a world ruled by strategic manipulation and emotional blackmail, Drew is left to reconsider where he truly stands, and who, if anyone, still stands with him. Meanwhile, a different sort of confrontation brews on the edges of the Corinthos chaos. Lucky Spencer's return to Port Charles had been seen by some as a quiet redemption arc, a chance for a man burdened by his past to forge a new path forward. But as Elizabeth uncovers details that contradict the story Lucky has been telling, the fragile bridge between them begins to splinter. By Wednesday, Elizabeth confronts him, not with anger, but with clarity. And on Thursday, Lucky is forced to admit that the truth he's been hiding could cost him everything. Whether he's been shielding Christina from consequences or protecting himself from past crimes, the details are still murky. But what's becoming clear is that Lucky's presence is no longer neutral. His choices, past and present, have consequences, and those ripples are beginning to affect everyone around him. By Friday, he stands at a personal crossroads, one that may demand a level of honesty he hasn't practiced in years. Elsewhere in Port Charles, a newer generation of drama ignites as Brooke Lynn, still raw from recent revelations, finally explodes. Her target? Gloria Cerullo, grandmother, confidante, and now, perhaps, a symbol of betrayal. The rage that has been simmering beneath Brooke Lynn's polished surface finally erupts in full force on Monday, exposing wounds that go deeper than anyone expected. Her grief, it seems, is less about what she's lost and more about who failed to protect her. But it is not until Wednesday that Brooke Lynn faces a far more complicated emotional reckoning, her first real confrontation with Lulu since the family secret was exposed. What might have been a tearful reunion is instead an emotionally charged standoff, filled with unspoken pain and unresolved tension. The women, bound by family and now divided by circumstance, struggle to find their footing in a relationship that may never be the same again. For Sonny, the week is one long erosion of control. He extends counsel to Gio, his newly acknowledged nephew, offering guidance that is less about strategy and more about survival. But for a man like Sonny, accustomed to commanding respect with a glance, watching his influence slip away one person at a time is a new kind of agony. The empire he built is beginning to fracture, not from outside threats, but from within. Beyond the central drama, the week offers quieter but no less significant moments of reckoning. Curtis Ashford tries to make sense of the storm surrounding Drew and Portia, but by Thursday, he chooses peace over paranoia, organizing a family gathering that temporarily reminds everyone what they're fighting for. Yet even in moments of celebration, old ties tug hard, and on Friday, Curtis is seen in deep conversation with Jordan. She brings news about Dalton, a name that still carries shadows and unfinished business. As the week comes to a close, a new emotional chapter begins for Cody and Molly. Their bond, long platonic and built on mutual understanding, begins to deepen. Whether it blossoms into romance or simply reveals a deeper emotional dependency, it's clear that both are searching for something real, something stable, in a world where everything else seems to be collapsing. In Port Charles, nothing is ever simple. Every revelation births another question. Every confrontation leaves an echo. As courtrooms empty and hospital corridors grow quiet, the emotional fallout is just beginning. Relationships are tested, loyalties are redrawn, and beneath the surface, a new war is already brewing. The Corinthos name may dominate the headlines this week, but it's the quiet choices made in the background that will shape what happens next.